Hi everyone! During the media tour, I came across a number of cool new changes and updates that were too small or random for their own video, so I figured I'd compile them all together for your viewing pleasure. As a reminder, everything you see here is developmental footage and subject to final adjustments or changes. Without further ado, here are 7 new things to look out for in Endwalker. New Jobstones. Obviously, with the addition of 2 new jobs, we have 2 new Jobstones. The Staged one follows the colors and aesthetic of a lot of its abilities, while the Reaper one is just edgy. For all you achievement hunters out there, the achievement window has gotten a pretty rad facelift. This new aesthetic really adds a bit of role-playing flair, as players now have a dog-eared journal full of faded pages of their exploits. The overall backbone is the same, and you're bound to find the same achievements in the same places you're used to them being, but I much prefer the more centered placement of the filters. I'll probably actually use them now. Unfortunately, in the media event build, all achievements were hidden to avoid spoilers, so I couldn't peep to see if there were any new tank mounts or cool new titles to grab. I guess we'll find out in November. Another established system to get an upgrade, Trusts. You'll notice a new yet beloved face available to us as a damage dealer option. Trusts have a new level cap as well, and allegedly their AI has been improved. While the Trust AI has been pretty decent at dodging in-game mechanics, they weren't the best at bringing their A-game in regards to damage. And by A-game, I of course mean AoE game. To my knowledge, Trusts will still infuriatingly single target even when large groups of mobs are pulled, probably in an effort to keep the dungeon length at a fairly steady average of about 30 to 35 minutes a run. Compare this to the 24 or so minutes it took some real, actual humans to run the dungeon, even with one of them trying to kill Mr. Happy. I mean, what? No, that was an accident. I swear, don't believe his lies. This next one is pretty cool. If you're like me, despite playing the game for more than 8 years, you probably still have to check the map in a big city to double check which Aethernet teleport is closest to your destination. In Endwalker, that entire process is simplified, if not eliminated, by this fancy new Aethernet window. Now players can see both the map and the available city Aethernet shards all at once. Clicking the list on the left will move the map to the selected Aethernet shard, where you can double check your location. Click again and you're teleported. You can also directly click on an Aethernet shard on the map side to be transported. Obviously, with our limited access in this build, I couldn't confirm if this feature is just in Ultraland or in all major cities, but I'm pretty confident that this will be implemented in all major cities for Endwalker. If I'm wrong, come back to the comments in a month to make fun of me. Everyone's favorite grind is back. That's right, shared fates continue to have a seat at the table in Endwalker. The system appears to be identical to its current iteration, however we didn't have access to any of the gem vendors to see what kind of rewards we can look forward to. I'm also going to assume that the number of fates necessary to max out each zone is probably the same. Unfortunately, since all of our Media Tour characters were at max level, I can't comment on the amount of XP you can expect per fate, but I'm going to assume it scales appropriately. While we're not getting increased bag space, the demise of the belt slot is granting players more inventory space in certain armory slots. This deletion has also inadvertently led to a kind of wacky, unbalanced gear set display. You can see the weird gaps both in the character window and in the bag UI module. While this literally does nothing to affect gameplay, it's one of those things that you cannot unsee once you notice it, so hopefully they fix this in a later patch before we all go crazy from staring at it. Over on the left side, it's also starting to feel a little crowded. If they add new jobs next expansion, I can see this window getting a complete overhaul. And finally, the one thing on every hardcore raider and min-maxer's mind. How is the number crunch going to affect our gear? Looking at entry-level level 90 gear, you can see stats have been lowered quite a bit when compared to endgame level 80 gear in Shadowbringers. Add this to all the expected potency adjustments that come with a number crunch, and get ready to see substantially lower numbers. Oh, let's add another cool tidbit, because I'd like to perpetuate this idea that I'm horrible at math and can't count. As soon as it was announced in the job action trailer, there was immediate discussion on the utility of Scholar's new in-combat group speed ability, which we now know is called Expedient. I had people asking, is it as fast as Sprint? Is it slower? Does it stack with Sprint? Etc. Let's take a look using my primitive testing methods. Running from the target dummy to this tree and back, we can see that the speed of Expedient and regular Sprint are Exactly the same. They don't stack, but they also don't share cooldowns, so essentially having a Scholar in your group offers 2 sprints. I guess we'll have to wait and see just how useful this ability may be in Prog, and if maybe boss encounters might be catered around having this extra movement buff. I guess we'll see in November.